If that's one ticket you have, and you take it to them. That's your ticket.
Come on board. Watch your step, please. Now, folks, we do have two stops that are closed today, unfortunately. One of them is stop number 8, which has actually been closed since. Just so make sure we're all on the same page. Flight's going by every 30 minutes. Last time the trolley will leave stop 1 is 5 o'clock. Any trolley to return stop 1 after 5. Stop 1 is where the tour will end. Stop 8 and stop 11 are closed. And I don't know, let's just get started. Alrighty, well, we are heading into the oldest neighborhood in Boston, the North End. The North End has been continuously inhabited ever since Boston was founded in 1630 by the Puritans. The Puritans had left England and came here to the New World seeking religious freedom. Well, so long as you were also a Puritan. If you were anything else, they kind of hated you. So, it's kind of a nice thing they're not around anymore. Back in the 1800s, the North End's population was mostly Irish. But by the 1920s, most of the Irish population of Boston lived in South Boston. The North End had become about 90% Italian. Today, the population is about 30% Italian, though it does still retain that Italian charm with over 100 Italian restaurants and bakeries. Places like Mike's Pastries and Modern Pastry on Hanover Street are very, very popular. One of my favorite Italian restaurants in the North End is called the Limoncello. It's on North Street. Warning system placed in the old North Church steeple in the form of lanterns, which would be hung by a friend of Paul Revere named Robert. I'll tell you more about that in just a moment because we are approaching stop 2 in the North End. Please stay seated until we have come to a complete stop and the doors are open. If you are getting off, please be sure to watch your step and use the handrails. Up at the top of the hill here to our left is where you can find Copp's Hill Burying Ground, which is the second oldest burying ground in Boston. What's that? Well, I just drop off, pick up, and then I leave. Yeah, and then the next trolley comes by in about 30 minutes. Watch your step. Made his way to the banks of the Charles River, where he got into a rowboat with a couple of his friends. And they helped him to row across the Charles River, right under the nose of the HMS Somerset, a British man-o-war. The moon was rising very slowly that night, so they stuck to the shadows and they were not caught. Once on the other side in Charlestown, Paul Revere borrowed Deacon Larkin's horse, Brown Beauty, and started the Midnight Ride. But Paul Revere was not alone in this endeavor. Actually, he wasn't even the first rider that they sent out. The first rider sent out was William Dawes. And Dawes went out over the land route from Boston to the south. Because Paul Revere took the shorter route, he got to Lexington like half an hour before Dawes. In Lexington, they warned the leaders of the Sons of Liberty hiding there, who were John Hancock and Samuel Adams, and the Lexington militia. Then they headed out to USS Constitution, Museum, Bunker Hill Monument, and Bunker Hill Museum. Like I said, the Constitution Museum is open today. The Constitution will be open again tomorrow, and the Bunker Hill Monument will be open on Wednesday. Now, as we make our way to stop 3, please stay seated you are getting off, please watch your step and use the handrails. Alright, stop freezing. Have a good day. You're welcome. Watch your step. Originally built between 1794 and 1797 in Boston, but it really got its fame in the War of 1812 in a battle against the HMS Erie off the coast of Nova Scotia. And the Constitution won that battle in 35 minutes. During the battle, the crewmen were looking out to see what kind of damage was being done to the Constitution. They noticed that there was barely any damage being done to the Constitution. British cannonballs were bouncing off the hull. This led one of them to exclaim, "Huzzah! Her sides are made of iron!" Except no, they're not. Actually, the sides are made of around 17 to 21 inches of live Georgian oak sheathed in copper. Still, the name stuck, and the Constitution became better known as Old Ironsides. And up ahead of us, a little to the right here, is a tall gray stone obelisk. And the Ridley Locks are two purposes. They help to send boats between Boston Harbor and the Charles River, and the 5 pumps at the Ridley Locks from 4 million gallons of water in a minute in case of flood. On the second floor of the Union fact, the Union Oyster House was the first restaurant to give out free wooden disposable toothpicks. Where will that come in handy? Well, I don't know, if you're ever on Jeopardy, it might. Now, in just a moment, we're going to be passing by this parking garage here, and coming up on our left, we will find a long red brick building, which is one of the buildings making up Quincy Market. Well, the original Quincy Market building is actually on the other side of that building, in the middle of all of it. Big, long, gray stone building. Quincy Market was originally built between 1824 and 1826, and it was named after the mayor of Boston at the time, Josiah Quincy. Originally, it was a very traditional kind of marketplace where people could buy and sell goods from both markets. But over the years, this area would fall into disrepair. Until the 1970s, when the area underwent an enormous refurbishment and was turned into the shopping area we see today. Out in front of Quincy Market, and actually over here to our left, we have this old red brick building with a small gold dome on top, which is Faneuil Hall. Faneuil Hall was donated to the people of Boston in 1742 by a local wealthy merchant named Peter Faneuil, on the condition that the building always be used for public use. And it has been up to this day. It is also known as the Cradle of Liberty because of the many important meetings of the Sons of Liberty that took place there. Now, unfortunately, the actual meeting hall is closed on Mondays. However, on the first floor is the shops. Those are open 7 days a week. It was actually part of the original agreement with Peter Faneuil that those shops be there on the first floor. Up ahead of us is this large gray concrete building. The building up ahead of us is Boston City Hall, where you'll find the office of Mayor Michelle Wu. Boston City Hall was originally opened in 1969. And when it was built, this style of architecture was very popular. It was called Brutalist, popular in the 60s and 70s. And is no longer popular today. As evidenced by an article published in January. According to this article, Boston City Hall is the second ugliest building in the United States and the fourth ugliest building in the world. And apparently the only building that's uglier than this one here in the U.S. is the J. Edgar Hoover building in Washington, D.C. It was also done in the brutalist style. Up and to the right, we have this old red brick building with the balcony out front, the Old State House. It was completed in 1713, and it served as the home of our colonial government and then our state government until 1798. It was from the balcony on the front of the Old State House where the Declaration of Independence was read to the people of Boston for the very first time on July 18th of 1776. And it's tradition that the Declaration of Independence is read from that balcony every 4th of July. Well, everybody, we're going to be coming up on stop number 5 for the Old State House, Faneuil Hall, Quincy Market, Downtown Crossing, the Old South Meeting House, and the site of the Boston Massacre. Please stay seated until we have come to a complete stop and the doors are open. If you are getting off, please be sure to watch your step and use the handrails. Woman to step off of the Mayflower and onto Plymouth Road. Coming up on our left is the Beantown Pub. As far as I know, it's the only place in Boston where you can go to enjoy a cold Samuel Adams beer while sitting across the street from cold Samuel Adams.
Very cold.
Okay, anyway. Here to the right we have the Granary Burial Ground. It's the third oldest burial ground in Boston, and it really is where Sam Adams is buried. Next to him is where you can find the victims of the Boston Massacre. Also in that cemetery you will find Robert Treat Hayne. He was a signer for the Declaration of Independence. James Otis, who is famous for saying, taxation without representation is tyranny. That is also where you will find John Hancock and Paul Revere. In the middle of the cemetery, there's this big gravestone that says Franklin, which of course does not belong to Ben Franklin. He lived most of his life and is married in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That stone belongs to his parents. He was born in Boston. Here to our left, we have Boston Common, the oldest public park in the United States. Originally established in 1634. That was when the Puritans purchased the land from a hermit who was living here, named Reverend William Gladstone. And up ahead of us, actually now going to be on our left, we have this large building here, which is called the New State House of Massachusetts. It's called the New State House because it opened on January 11th, 1798. See, it's newer than the old State House, which opened in 1713. Also, the old State House is a museum, whereas the new State House here is very much a government building. Almost all of these, though, are owned by Massachusetts General Hospital. Mass General is the largest hospital and largest employer in the city of Boston. It is also considered by many to be one of the best hospitals in the world. And Mass General has been around a very long time. It originally opened in 1811 as the Harvard Medical Center. Since the hospital has been around for so long, there have been some firsts that have taken place at Mass General. The one that they are most proud of happened back on October 16th of 1846. That was the day that ether was used as an anesthetic in surgery for the very first time. And it was basically the beginning of anesthesia. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty darn happy about it. Actually, I prefer the alternative. there are very, very few lit or neon signs on Charles Street, which is essentially to keep with the 19th century charm. Some of these stores will even try to keep with a medieval tradition of putting a picture of what they sell on the sign. Go back to a time when not everybody could read. So the best way to tell what they sold in the store would be to look at the picture. Coming up on the right is Warren's Nails, and on their side, got a pair of nail clippers. You can tell it's a nail salon. And then there's this place here on the right where it's just called Helen's. Thank you. That's it. One step. Yep, all set. Welcome on board. I just need to see you. Perfect. Yep. Thank you. One step. You can ask any of our salespeople about times, prices, availability, or any other information that you may need about it. Great. Well, folks, in just a moment here, we'll be coming up on the place where everybody goes for game. We are coming up on stop 7 for Cheers. Please stay seated until we have come to a complete stop and the doors are open. If you are getting off, please watch your step and use the handrails.
So this is the South End. Now when you folks got on board and said you're from North Carolina, I know what you meant. You're north of South Carolina. It's so easy and simple. Although, you know, in South Carolina, they have a town called North Carolina. Very confusing. But we're just as confusing. This, South End is north of the Jack Geographic Center. We are southeast of the North End. Not the same as South Boston, which is 2 weeks from here. North of which is East Boston, which is northeast of the North End. There's a map over here on this building that shows you the original Charlotte Peninsula and is what became Boston in 1630. There's a solid thick line, and that's the outline of what became Boston. Everything else on the map either is or was water. The map is actually, you kind of have to twist it around, flip it around about 3/4 of the way. The narrow neck at the bottom of that map is Washington Street, straight ahead of us. But the map is on the left there, and that gives you a little bit of a sense as to how much Boston has really changed over the years. So this is the South End. I left Boston in the mid-70s, and at that time I would have said, don't go to the South End. But it's now a very good neighborhood. I came back in the mid-90s, and the South End was great. I now live closer to Foxborough, where the Patriots play, but where I moved back into the city, I've been looking at the South End. Now, we used to very frequently come up through here, and there'd be a man sitting on the bench over here. His name is Mel King. Mel King was the first black mayoral candidate in Boston. He was very active in civil rights and activism in Boston in general. He actually saved the South End. They were planning to tear it down. He organized what was called Tent City. And one of the housing developments they built is in fact called Tent City. When Mel King passed away a couple weeks ago, they're having a memorial service for him. 94 or 5 when he passed away. Recently, they're having a memorial service up here at the church. But he used to sit on that bench in the computer center that he founded. Some computer skills. He'd love to sit on that bench. A day like today, when he was on trolley. Rebrand themselves. They want to be more health conscious. Except just drop the name donors, which they don't person who you may not think of, but lived in Boston for a while in the 50s. Got his doctorate at Boston University, which is one of the more than 60 colleges in the greater Boston area. He met his wife, Coretta Scott, living in Boston. She was from Mississippi. So, what do you know? But he was studying voice, doing conservatory education. And they lived in this apartment building over here. I'll tell you exactly which one it is. The second one is the end of this row, on the second floor. That's the church of the window. That was one of the the memorial to Dr. King is unveiled on Martin Luther King Day at the Boston Common called The Embrace. I should have now just changed it to Embrace Boston. It's a brand new name for it. But it's two disembodied arms, based actually on a photograph of Ian Coretta embracing what was announced he would be killed in. So, on the quarter mile behind us, you'll find the Museum of Fine Arts. I believe they're both closed today and tomorrow. But the Gardner Museum is beautiful. Private home, up to the city as museum when she died. So it is missing several $1 billion worth of Rembrandts, Vermeers, Manets, Degas. It was 33 years ago, and there was a knock at the door. The night watchman saw men in police uniforms demanding entrance. He opened up. He used box cutters to cut those paintings out with frames. Never has been solved. Frames hang empty on the walls. Still went cold somewhere outside of Miami. Okay, wait a second. Do you know anything? No? You know, the statute of limitations expired, so don't get arrested. They'll get $10 million. Alright, I believe you. No, they don't know where those paintings are, but they sure would love to get them back. And the statute of limitations expired many, many years ago, so $10 million. These buildings were designed by architect I.M. Pei. They're actually twins. One standing up, the other one laying down. Part of the Christian Science Plaza, the Mother Church of Christ the Scientist, religion founded by Mary Baker Eddy. In the late 1800s, when she was ill, doctors couldn't help. To get better, wrote a book called Science and Health, with the speed of the scriptures. And that's the basis of this church. In the library building, they have an exhibit called the Maparium, stained glass globe of the world. You walk out the middle of it. Pretty interesting exhibit. Also, for what it's worth, at the library building at Christian Science Church, you'll find the nicest ladies' room in the city of Boston. I won't tell you how I know. Trust me. There, I think the best men's room is in a place called the Bleacher Bar. Watch your step. Okay, then we'll continue on from here. You know, there's a Prudential Towers over here. It's still the second tallest building in New England. The observatory has yet reopened. They'll be doing that very soon. But there's a newer building that's kind of under the Christian Science Plaza. It looks taller. It's actually a couple feet shorter. But like many high-rise buildings, because of superstition, we approach town. How do you know when you're home? Alright. So welcome aboard those who are joining us. My name is Sambo. A couple of years ago, well, several years ago now, there used to be a restaurant across the way called the Cafe Budapest, and they were filming some of the movie House there with Goldie Hawn and Steve Martin. And back then, my brother had an office next door. I was paying him a visit one day, walked out of his office door, and I almost got run over by Steve Martin. He was zipping down the sidewalk on a unicycle. You know, as he passed by me, he stuck his business card into my hand, said, "You've just met Steve Martin," and found him to be a most witty, charming, and intelligent fellow. Why I didn't say humble too, I don't know. So Copley Square currently closed off traffic, or setting up for the marathon. The West Stop 11 is closed. We're going to Stop 12 next. The library is straight up ahead of us, the door wing on this end. Beautiful building, personally my favorite in Boston. From the salt marshes to the south end. You can see the shells there for the swan boats. Back there the other day, they'll be putting those swans on them, but next week it should be operational. called Make Way for Ducklings. Mrs. Mallard there, I think she's still wearing her Easter bonnet yesterday. Well, some of the other ones are too. But they looked all around Boston for a good place to raise a family, ending up in the lagoon here. So those statues of Mrs. Mallard, followed by Jack, Cat, Black, Mac, Cat, Oack, Cat, Black. That was the first book I ever read all by myself. That's what I did when we went into Cornerstone. Samuel Adams played the Cornerstones, expanded to its current size in 1881. It is open today. It's free. They have some guided tours up till about 3:30. But you can also do self-guided tours. Looks like there's going to be a speech happening. That's the governor. They're in front of the State House. Shortly. Everybody's getting off. We get it. How are you doing? Good. Where are you guys from? Philadelphia. How are you feeling? All set? How you doing? How about you guys? Where are you from? Oh, you don't know? Or you don't want to admit? Huh? You're local. Oh, Chicago. Okay. Well, welcome to a windier city. I know you guys got the nickname, it's because of politicians, but we got them too. Chicago doesn't even make the top 10 in windy cities. Kansas is the windiest, but...
Alright.
Served in the United States Army. The movie Glories about the Broadway, that's on Washington. It's the story of a historic getting forth. I'm not sure exactly what the mayor or governor will be talking about. That's up the podium. Black Dart, half-mast, next word is Delta about Bell King, passed away. Long time active in Boston politics. Such there is Mary Dyer, acting on the Boston Common in 1660 because she was a Quaker. You know the Puritans, they say, they came here for religious freedom, their own, and this is when she was a Quaker, so they hanged her. Honors the most famous dropout of Benjamin, Boston Latin School, Benjamin Franklin. Boston Latin School, which is dropped out of the 1810s, right here on the left. You'll find Old City Hall and now we're looking for State House. Franklin once said the greatest investment one can make is knowledge. Still dropped out of school. 1920, one of the worst investments can be made was right here in this office on our left. That was the office of Charles Constance. The Pockets right there. Two buildings here are two of the only ones that survived the Great Fire of 1872 that pretty much destroyed the South End. The Old Corner Bookstore, Victor and Phillips Publishing House, published Hawthorne, Thoreau, Emerson, Dickens, Longfellow. Now it's a Chipotle. And on the right-hand side is the Old South Meeting House. 340 Chesterfield report. I have no doubt in my mind if this were to happen today, you know somebody would have put it on TikTok. It took months for word to reach England, several more months for us to learn. The response was closing the harbor to all trade in or out of the They worth about 1.8 million. Closing the harbor led to economic hardships, sending more soldiers here to quiet things down in Boston. Exacerbated the unrest. In no time at all, something once thought unthinkable was inevitable. A war with England free. Our next stop is for the Boston Tea Party camp. Here in a second. We're going to the Post Office Square. Welcome to Boston. It's on the square in order to have a post office. It used to be the first post office in America. But this was all part of the fire in 1872 that pretty much destroyed what 800 buildings. All the rubble was pushed up ahead into the harbor. That's also landfill up here. The Griffin's Wharf today doesn't exist. That's where the Tea Party ships were docked. They're now just adjacent to where it actually happened. This year is the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. One of our trolleys, as I mentioned, is yellow. Someone actually behind us in this group. But and it is designed to look like Eleanor, one of the three ships. Invitations have been sent to Buckingham Palace and the White House. Hope now a couple of very special guests join us for the reenactment this coming December. But we do daily reenactments at the Tea Party Shipping Museum. If you're interested in their history, I really recommend it. One of the guests is even on display. At the moment, they're kind of running at a little bit of limited capacity. Not only are a lot of school groups coming in doing tours, but we only have one of the ships currently operational. The Beaver just came out of dry dock, and they haven't put the mast back up on it yet. They'll be doing that shortly. So you might want to check availability, but you do get a discount combining it with the trolley tour. Back to Boston. Off to the right is South Station. That is one of the stops on the other route. Much of the mouth of the North Line substation. Talk about that again in a moment. Federal Reserve, 100% recyclable aluminum. I donated that wall right there. One beer can at a time. All U.S. currency has a letter on it telling you where it came from. Now, larger bills just have the letter and the number. $1 bills still have a seal. This one has a C. And it says it's from Philadelphia. If it had an A, it was from Boston. B is New York, C, Philadelphia. They go all the way across the country. San Francisco has a number. Larger bills, just a letter. So there's the Tea Party ships on the left. There's the actual size. We'll start with the other side of the 120 channel. Off to the right, you'll find the world shaving headquarters of the Gillette Company. Cape Camp Gillette, invented the secret razor here in Boston. Gillette's over there. Gillette feels these days they're losing market share because, you know, a lot of men don't shave. So they thought, what can we do to inspire younger boys to use our razors? I don't point any fingers here, but I see one person here. But they know what can we do to inspire younger boys to use their razors? They go, let's send them a quick one on their birthday. Sounds like a plan. I think let's have a problem when they're database. My daughter's 17th birthday, she got a razor in the mail with a booklet that said, happy birthday and welcome to manhood. That's what it said. It went on, went on to say that your first shave is not going to make you a man, but it will get you really close. That's what it said. Children's Museum of Boston's right here on the left. Sometimes we get lucky. They see children out here, but this is our stop November 14th. Tea Party Shipping Museum. We are here on the seaport. There is another trolley that goes to the hotels out here. It connects either at South Station, which is around the corner, or at stop number 1, which we're heading to next. If you are getting down here, watch your step. I cannot say it enough. This half step is really easy to miss. One time I had a woman do a tremendous pole dance right there, and she missed it. I had to take money out of my hat there to her. It was impressive. Museum is right across the street, and back there, right between, right on the channel. All right here.
So a whole big section of Boston is rapidly being built out up here. About 50 buildings are going up and around the new innovation district. A brand new seaport. All these big corporations building their world headquarters down here. Lots of new stuff, new sections of town. They had plans going back, way back for that area, but nothing really happened until the last couple of decades. Because once they started, they were building up a stuff. Boston Harbor's up ahead, folks. You can walk all around the waterfront. They call it the Harbor Walk. It's like 30-something miles. It's going to be longer when they finish it, but there's right in Boston, there's Fan Pier down here. It's a beautiful place. There's really nice areas all in the inner harbor to stroll around, and we got some nice weather coming this week. And you know, you can also jump in Boston Harbor. It's they cleaned it all up. Boston Harbor has the cleanest urban beaches. You can catch this thing here. I'm gonna drop you off right here and then go around to a stop. Now you need to book to get out and everyone they pull away. So folks, this is non-stop one. Please don't get off except if you need to catch that boat over here. Alright. Real quick, folks. Sorry, not more time, but I think they can get over there, I hope. Alright, see you. Folks, are you catching the boat, sir? Alright, very good. Oh, you're welcome. Take care. Have a nice one. So the rest of unless you're catching the boat ride here, can you please sit down so I can pull around? This is not the stop. Can you please sit down just here, ma'am? I'm in a really bad spot here. These folks need to catch a boat really quick here, so, big wait. See you now. Have a great one. Goodbye. Hey, take it easy now. Watch this last step down here, folks. Hey, enjoy your visit. I'll see you.
Of my bus city tour of Boston. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment, and please subscribe to my channel. But I'm going on a different area now to do another tour. And the bus tour costs $55 round trip for one person and $109 for two persons. So if you come to Boston, you could take a trolley ride and get a tour of Boston. So thanks for watching my video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Okay.